The delivery and unloading of petroleum products at filling stations is potentially hazardous, with the risk of fire and explosion due to the flammable nature of the fuel being transferred and the vapors it produces. Other forecourt activities must also be taken into account, for example, electric vehicle charging. There's also the risks of environmental damage from spills or leaks, and of personal injury from accidents and incidents during the transfer process. It demands strict adherence to safety protocols by petrol station site operators and personnel, road tanker operators and drivers, and the authorities responsible for enforcement of the Dangerous Substances and Explosive Atmospheres Regulations, 2002, for petrol filling stations. This video supports the DESIR Approved Code of Practice, or ACOP, which provides practical guidance to ensure that the unloading process can be carried out safely and without damage to the environment. Employers and site responsible persons must ensure that all personnel involved, both site staff and drivers, are properly trained and informed to deal with the risks involved, as well as wearing the correct PPE. Suitable management systems must also be in place to help coordinate people with shared responsibilities. It's important that the equipment and facilities used during unloading are appropriately designed, undamaged, fit for purpose, and well maintained. A thorough risk assessment must have been previously carried out, with significant findings recorded and measures put in place to reduce the risks to a LARP, or as low as reasonably practicable. But a dynamic risk assessment should be carried out ahead of each delivery by the driver and the competent person, including identifying and classifying where explosive atmospheres may occur and measures to avoid an ignition source. The risk assessment findings must be communicated to everyone involved, and this must include identifying foreseeable incidents, accidents and emergencies, what can be done to prevent them, including procedures and plans to ensure the safety of everyone involved and anyone nearby in the unlikely event that an incident were to occur. The risk assessment should be periodically updated, or if there are any significant changes to site processes, personnel, or following an incident. A spill or loss of product can cause environmental harm, and the ACOP guidance requires measures to be in place to prevent the overfilling of a receiving storage tank. But if overfilling occurs, road tanker and site operators must have emergency arrangements in place, including a means of shutting off power and closing all foot valves. The actions of tanker drivers and site operators must be coordinated to ensure all actions are compatible with the site operator's emergency arrangements. Further guidance on the relevant legislation can be found here. Written instructions and other relevant information must be available so that tanker drivers are fully aware of what's required to safely unload petrol at a site. The site operator must have start-to-finish procedures in place for deliveries, with staff fully aware what these are and ready to activate them as soon as the tanker arrives on site. Suitable communication must be available so the tanker driver and the competent person can contact the emergency services if something goes wrong. They must know how to use this telephone system and what procedures they need to follow. The system must have preset numbers and be ready to use before the delivery commences. At locations where the method of communication is accessed via the retail store, all parties must know where this is located for quick and easy access in an emergency. A clearly marked switch must be available to cut off power to all fuel dispensers and EV chargers. This must be readily accessible at all times, and it must be fitted with a device which only allows reset manually. But if the delivery is being carried out with on-site assistance and the reset is carried out remotely, that reset must not happen until the original fault has been investigated and resolved. The site must be adequately lit, equivalent to a minimum luminance of 100 lux at ground level. There must be a safe and unobstructed means of entry and exit for the tanker. Suitable protection must be provided for drivers during deliveries, including warning signage. Every storage tank and compartment must have a suitable means of measuring the quantity of fuel inside. Any opening for a dipstick must be kept closed and secured at all times when not in use. Dipsticks in fill pipes must be removed before petrol is delivered. Accurate and legible information on the ullage must be clearly visible. And properly maintained and fully functional fire extinguishers must be accessible both on the tanker and in the unloading area. Each storage tank filling point must be uniquely labelled, with information on the grade of fuel and the safe working capacity of the tank. When not in use, the cap must be closed and secured to prevent tampering by an unauthorised person. Hoses, including those for vapor recovery, must be in good condition, must be fitted with appropriate connectors, be electrically conductive to prevent static buildup, and be inspected regularly in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, but at least once a year. If the hoses are worn, they should be replaced. Let's look a little closer at the recommendations for assisted and unassisted deliveries. Before unloading, read the written delivery instructions. Verify the appropriate storage tank has sufficient ullage to accept the delivery. Test the high-level alarms of the tanks. Verify the location of the emergency telephone and check it works. Verify the location of the power isolation switch. Ensure all hoses are in good condition. Verify that an in-date fire extinguisher and lidded container with sand or other absorbent material are both present. Fire extinguishers should be placed upwind of the delivery point and at a suitable distance so they are easily accessible, but be sure they are not too close as to be within a pool fire zone. When connecting hoses, the vapor recovery hose must be connected first, then any hose for unloading, but ensure it's attached to the underground tank first and the tanker second. Ensure all the connections are fully secure before unloading. Unloading. For assisted deliveries, the competent person should be present until the delivery is complete. Ideally, the delivery area should be coned off to avoid members of the public approaching. The competent person is responsible for ensuring there is no source of ignition in the hazardous area or in the general vicinity. The safety of anyone nearby is not compromised. That all filling points other than those being used are closed, and that no other vehicles can collide with the tanker. An assisted delivery should only take place if a competent person is present. If the competent person is not present for a planned assisted delivery, the delivery must not take place unless the filling station is first closed before fuel is unloaded. For unloading without assistance from a competent person, the driver must ensure there's no source of ignition in the hazardous area or in the general vicinity, and that the safety of anyone nearby is not compromised. If either is the case, unloading must not commence, or the delivery must stop if the delivery is in progress. The site operator must ensure that prevention measures are in place to stop any spills or losses from reaching any part of the site where the general public might be present. If such measures are not in place, the delivery must not take place unless the filling station is first closed. Whether unloading with or without assistance, no more than 2 tanker compartments should be unloaded at any one time, and that includes diesel. Delivery should not take place without measures in place to prevent fuel leaks or spillages, which includes the potential for leaks and spills to enter drains and basements off-site. It must be ensured that, so far as is reasonably practicable, the receiving storage tank is not overfilled. But if it is, ensure readiness to initiate the appropriate emergency procedures. Ensure all filling points, apart from those being filled, remain closed. Cease unloading immediately if there are any leaks from a hose, connection or joint, or if you believe the means of measuring the amount of petrol being unloaded is faulty. Once the delivery is complete and before leaving the site, ensure all hoses are disconnected, removing the tanker connection first, followed by the underground tank, and lastly the vapor recovery. Ensure all caps and covers are properly replaced. And finally, that the amount of petrol delivered to each tank is recorded and given to the site operator. Thank you for watching.